Alright, so this video we're going to talk about some of the things that we use in our daily lives living in our RV. I've been working on this project for a while, but between rainy weather and sightseeing and moving, it's took me longer than I wanted. So you may notice a few different things in there. Let me know in the comments below the Easter eggs you catch. Here you go. Enjoy. Alright, so if you're a full-time family or a full-time traveler, or even just a traveler, you have to know how to get to where you're going, right? Well, we like to use Garmin RV GPS. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it here. This unit's pretty nice. It's got a big screen. I believe it's a 7-inch screen or so. And the nice thing about this unit is it's specifically designed for RVs. So here in the settings, under the RV profile, this one's our current, and it's the Fummins. And you can put in the width of your rig, the overall length, the height, the gross weight, and then it has audios, cautions, and advisories. It also it alerts you when it's going to be a speed limit change, which is nice. So you go in and you plug this information in, and this unit will not lead you in a direction that you won't fit. Say a low bridge, narrow roads, things of that nature, or just roads that aren't, navigable by a large RV such as ours. It is a Garmin GPS, so it comes with a lot of the same Garmin features. This unit came, when I bought it, came with a wireless backup camera. The backup camera was left on the other trailer that we traded in, so I don't have that and use it anymore. But it is possible to use that. And then it has, anything else that a normal Garmin can do, whether it be traffic. It does alert me whenever there is any traffic or if roads are closed. So it's real cool. You go like a normal GPS. We're gonna go into you can select RV park services. You can enter addresses, gas stations, shopping. We'll go to saved. We're gonna hit all saved places, and these are the places we've been. Let's try the Williamsburg Christian Retreat Center. And then it's gonna, of course, show where you are. And then it's going to give you a couple options as far as routes. This one, it's only given us one, but a lot of times it does give you multiple routes. You can find attractions. I mean, it's really nice. And the one thing I really like about this unit is just the size. When you're driving, you don't like having to squint at things like your camera, or your phone screen, or small GPSs. Something else that I got, and this was like a $9 Amazon special, was this mount. And it's really awesome. As you can see, it's mounted into the front of the truck dashboard. And I don't like things up in the window cluttering my view. So if you look at here, this just goes into the CD player. This piece, like I said, I did buy separate. And that's it. And who listens to CDs anyway, right? Right? Who listens to CDs? Alright, so, and I believe this is the Garmin 760 RV is the name of the unit. I will put links down below to the GPS and to the mount if it's something you're interested in. And we really have liked this unit a lot. My biggest complaint is that the screen, when you're in the maps, it's not the smoothest transition when you move. Sometimes it doesn't do it at all, sometimes it does. So that would be my biggest complaint overall with the unit. Alright, just like with a regular house, your RV has to be hooked up to certain utilities, or at least have certain utilities present. One of the more important things is electricity. You can definitely just plug in your RV to the pole when you pull into a campground or RV park, but it's a good idea to have some of these extra things along with you. One of the first things, something that we carry a couple of, are surge protectors and circuit analyzers. When we started our adventure, we did it in a travel trailer that was set up for 30 amp, and we had this 30 amp surge protector. When we upgraded to the fifth wheel, it's capable of 50 amp, so we did buy a 50 amp one. One thing though, you'll notice I am hooked up to 30 amp because this campground doesn't offer 50 amps, so you'll want to be able to adapt to both. So we do have a 50 amp and a 30 amp. Something else that you'll need to have is called a dog bone. What the dog bone is basically an adapter that goes from the 30 amp plug to the 50 amp cord that goes to the RV, because we do only carry a 50 amp main cable for the RV. These are nice because they protect all of your valuable electronics inside from spikes and surges. They also will let you know, they'll analyze the circuit and let you know if there's a bad ground or if it's just not safe. So these are definitely something nice to have. I'd like to upgrade to an internal one that's wired into the trailer's electrical system in the future, something that I don't have to carry around extras of. But right now we're dealing with these. Another thing to have is also plenty of extension cord. This is something that is not always necessary, but it's definitely nice to have. And on top of that, an adapter that will adapt from the big RV cables to the regular 110 outlet. This is nice. Like we used it when we were staying at somebody's house and we wanted to just plug in and be able to use the refrigerator, to plug in the refrigerator and a couple small appliances. Now obviously this isn't going to run your air conditioning or anything like that, but it's definitely nice to have. Something else that we didn't need for a long time, but then after the first time we did need it, we needed it several places in a row. That's an extension cord for the 50 amp cable. Nothing like getting into a campground and getting your trailer parked and leveled and then realizing that you're 5 feet too short, or even more in some cases. Like I said, it's not something that you need all the time, but if you don't have it and you need it, it's not something that's really available at your local grocery stores, convenience stores. I think I've seen them at Walmart now a few times, but it's definitely something that we've used quite a bit since we've had it. What I'm going to talk about are blocks. These blocks come in very handy for a variety of different things. They go together kind of like Legos, and we use them for everything from under the jacks of the RV to the stabilizers. I've used them to support and elevate the Blackwater hose. We've used them under the tires to lift the trailer up on one side. They do have a very good purpose, and they are definitely something very important to have. Now you can definitely do this with blocks of wood. These are nice because they don't weigh very much. They go together nicely, and they go together in basically inch increments, so you can kind of fine tune them. We started with 2 sets and really quickly realized we needed another set, so unfortunately we went to buy them at Walmart and they had a different brand. They kind of work together, but we just make sure and use them appropriately. And then now we're probably going to get another set. So they're definitely very, very nice to have. And they don't take up much space, and they come in very handy. I would call these a must-have to be a full-time RVer. Something that's very important is the water that goes into your RV. You do need a lot of necessary equipment, tools, gadgets, whatever you want to call them, to get the water into your RV safely. So I have a bunch of different things I'm going to go over here. First thing is have plenty of hose. I have 2 25-foot sections of drinking water hose which is a total of 50 feet, and I have never not been able to do that. And that 50 feet feeds into our water filters, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and then there's another 10 feet. So total I have about 60 feet from where my water hookup is that I can go to the receptacle, which I have found is not a problem. Another thing you might want to have is a hose, just one that's not for drinking water. This one I've used for flushing out the black tanks. I've used it for just spraying stuff off, cleaning things, stuff that's not, you know, water's not going to be drunk. Another thing I have is one of these little flexible hoses. I think this guy is 50 feet long when it's fully inflated and filled. I've used it for washing the RV, I've used it for washing cars, filling buckets. It's nice because it's small and it doesn't take up any space. And in a pinch I could always use it with the freshwater, but I don't believe this one is rated for freshwater, and I don't know if it'll hold the pressure that the water puts it under. So after the water comes out of the faucet, first thing we have it pass through is a water regulator. I have two types that I carry with me. This first one I'm going to talk about is just a standard inline water pressure regulator. It goes to from 40 to 50 psi is basically what it's going to regulate it down to. It goes on the hose, you put it on there, and it's good to go. I haven't used this one as much because we have this adjustable water pressure regulator. This one's nice because you can get it right up to what you know that the RV is going to be safe at, and it's got a gauge that tells you what it's at. So, you know, usually I hook this one up, hook the hose to it, fine tune it based on the park's pressure, and we're good to go. Something else that I find very handy too is one of these brass Ys. You put it on the faucet, you hook your regulator up to this and your hose, and then you have a spare water spigot basically. That's where this comes in. I'll plug this in, rinse off our stuff pretty regularly, especially after it rains. As you can see, some of the stuff is kind of dirty, but it's definitely handy, and I recommend having one. So it goes Y, water pressure regulator, hose, and then it goes into the filter. One thing that's nice that I use on my hoses also are quick disconnects. So this is my water filter setup. I just go, hook it up, and go. One thing that's real nice is I can put good thread seal on these, so there's no leaks. Alright, so then we have water filters. There's lots of different options and lots of great information out there. We chose to filter the water before it comes into the RV, which in my opinion helps reduce the amount of deposits that can happen inside of the plumbing inside the rig. We've already in this rig had to replace a sink faucet because it was plugged up with deposits. So I have a two-stage. This is basically the same thing like you'd find in a house. So it's got two filters. The first one is a carbon filter, and this one is going to improve the taste. It's going to remove the bigger chunks of sediment, and it's gonna make the water taste better and make it safer to drink. The second one is an ultra fine filter. This one is going to take out rust. It's going to take out sand and very fine grains of dirt and whatever minerals are in the water. So the water goes through this and then into the RV. The cartridges are easily replaceable. You just take them off, and it has a cartridge. Cartridges are typically anywhere from $5 to $16. And one thing good about this setup is, let's say you're more concerned about different types of minerals and stuff, you can get different types of filters. So you could basically customize this any way you like. So there you have it. You start with a Y at the spigot, pressure regulator, hose, into filters, into the RV. Let's say you're heading somewhere that you don't have water hookups and you need to fill up your freshwater tank. Now you can always stick the hose in there, but I'll tell you, in my experience, both of the rigs I've had, the hose end doesn't go very far in, so you have to stand there holding it. I would get something that kind of goes inside of it, and it also has a little valve. I got this guy off of Amazon, I believe, for $6 or $7, and you hook the hose to it, stick it right in the hole, and you just leave it there, and and you can go about your business. It can take some time to fill up a 100-gallon water tank, so this has come in handy more than a few times. Something I also carry around with us that has been very handy to have is a spare bag of these little seals, or gaskets, or I don't even know what the technical term is. They're like an O-ring. They go inside of the hosed female fitting that keeps it sealed. Many times I've seen them get damaged or maybe get left behind, or whatever the case, so I keep a little baggie with several of them in it, and then in the fly I have them, and I'm able to get the water leaks. Alright, so when you stay at a lot of campgrounds, a lot of them do have fire pits, but there is always the dilemma of, first off, are you in an area where there's not a fire ban? Second, do you have any firewood? So we kind of took it a little bit further, and we went and got our own fire pit. It's a Del Rio Camp Chef. It's a propane fire pit that we store in the basement of the RV. Let's check it out. This thing is nice because it has a 30-inch diameter bowl. So when you're out, I've seen a lot of them that are about 19 inches, and they just seem kind of small, especially when you put several people around them. Because if you're out camping, don't you want to entertain friends? So we got this. Like I said, it's a large bowl. It's about 30 inches, and it's filled with lava rocks. And it runs off a propane tank, just like we use in the RV. So typically we would just pull one out of there. And this one even has an automatic light. You can't really see it right now. This guy puts off a ton of heat. We've roasted marshmallows over it. We've roasted hot dogs over it. And we've had just a lot of good times with friends around it. So although it's not a necessity or as critical as a water pressure regulator or a surge protector, this is definitely something that's nice to have. Like I said, most campgrounds have a fire ring, but one thing we don't like is going inside and smelling like a campfire, or having all of our house smell like a campfire inside all the time. So this is something we really do like to have. Alright, so I have boxes full of tools, and I could go through each one and tell you what tools I have. But instead I'm just going to go over a couple things that I think I use more than the rest. Now, I have a full ratchet set, open-end wrenches, that kind of thing for working on the truck. But these things are a little bit more useful specifically when it comes to the RV itself, or just being around a camp. So here we go. We'll talk about a couple of those. First thing I want to talk about is a drill and a driver. Now this one could do the job of both, but one thing I like about having a driver is that for, like, let's say wheel lugs or things of that nature, this one has quite a bit more power, and it's more for just removing bolts and nuts, whereas this one can be used to drill. And then with me I carry an assortment of different bits and different tools to use these two items. Another thing I like to carry with me that most people may not think about is a pop rivet gun. Now, I had this and it sat in storage for months, and then it never got used, and then one day I used it and it was very helpful. I even used it today when I pulled it out of the toolbox because I noticed that a rivet had come loose. They're very inexpensive. They come with a variety of different sizes, and most things on an RV, a lot of them are held together with pop rivets, if not screws. Another thing I carry with me is just a handsaw. Cheap, small, doesn't weigh much. I keep it stored. I've used it to cut firewood. I've used it on do-it-yourself projects. Now I could have a power saw of some kind, but it comes down to where you're going to keep it. It weighs more. Got to keep it charged. This one weighs half a pound at the most, and it fits real easily. Another thing that comes in handy is a trusty hatchet. Sometimes we send the kids out to scrounge for firewood, and we need to split it. Now you could have a real full-size axe, but I haven't really found the need for that yet, so we carry a hatchet. A rubber mallet. Self-explanatory. A lot of the things take a little nudging to get into place. I used it a lot more when we were in a travel trailer than I have since we've been in a fifth wheel, but it has been used. I know this looks pretty burly, but it's come in handy. It's a machete. I've used it around our camp spots before. I've used it to cut small pieces of wood. Again, it's small, light, fits easily in a corner, and out of sight, out of mind. Don't ever need it, but when you do, it comes in handy. Thanks. And as Anthony reminded me, I use this to murder a turkey for Thanksgiving. Another tool that I don't have out here, I didn't get it out, but I just thought of it, that's handy to have while you're living in an RV, is a staple gun. At the factory, these things are put together with a lot of staples. So when I notice something coming apart or peeling, I'll take liquid nails or an adhesive like that, glue it together, and then I'll restaple it. In the end, I think it's stronger and it lasts longer than the original. Alright, something else I carry with me is a torque wrench. I use this to check the torque on the lug nuts both on the truck and trailer. About every other stop, give or take. It's something that it's definitely important to check. I've seen videos and pictures where people have their wheels go flying off because they weren't torqued specifically. Another thing I carry with me that most people may not know how to use or have is a digital multimeter. This is real critical when testing electrical problems. You can accomplish a lot with a test light, but this takes it a step further. I can test outlets, I can test 12 volt, 110, and all other things like that. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and if you like this video, make sure and give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share us so anybody you know might be interested to watch it.